what if everything you thought you knew about healthy eating, willpower, and maybe even your own cravings was actually, well, a carefully crafted illusion? What if it's not you? What if it's the food itself?
That's a really powerful starting point. It definitely cuts right to the heart of what we're diving into today.
Absolutely. So today we're tackling Chris van Tulleken's huge book, Ultra-Processed People, the definitive #1 bestseller you need to understand ultra-processed food. And it's not just a bestseller, is it? It's got critical acclaim. It's sparked a massive conversation.
You're spot on. This really isn't just another diet book you pick up and forget. It's a proper investigation. Eye-opening stuff. Van Tulleken calls it a new age of eating. Think about that. An age where most of our calories are coming from these substances engineered for profit, not really for our health.
Right. So our mission, our goal for this deep dive is to unpack all of that. The science, the economics behind it, the societal impact of ultra-processed food, UPF. We want to help you really understand what's going on.
Exactly. To get beneath the surface.
Okay, before we jump right in, just a quick reminder for everyone listening. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this deep dive. This is the Deep Seek Diaries, and you can find us on the usual places: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Also, all the resources we mentioned today, the book itself, any websites, they're all linked down in the description section for you. Please do take a moment to check out our terms and conditions too when you get a chance. Right then, sit back, let's get into it. So let's start with the basics. What is this stuff? Ultra-processed food, UTF. I think many of us have a vague idea of processed food, maybe thinking of, I don't know, cheese slices or something. But Van Tulleken paints a much broader picture, doesn't he?
He really does. He gives a very handy sort of rule of thumb. He says if it's wrapped in plastic and has at least one ingredient that you wouldn't find in your kitchen, it's UPF. Simple, right? Easy to apply when you're shopping.
Yeah, that's quite practical.
But then there's the more formal scientific definition. It's often described as an industrially produced edible substance. Notice the wording substance, not food. These things are made using industrial processes, ingredients you wouldn't have at home, and crucially, they are designed and marketed to be incredibly appealing, maybe even addictive.
And that's the key bit. It's not just the obvious junk food like chips and candy. He points out things like certain types of mass-produced bread, lots of biscuits, those cakes you buy in boxes. And the one that really got me, some organic baby food pouches, the ones that can sit on a shelf for like 2 years. Infant food.
Yeah, that's a shocker, isn't it? It just shows how deeply embedded this stuff is, often flying under the radar, looking convenient, sometimes even looking healthy. And the consequences of this, of eating so much of these edible substances, well, they're pretty catastrophic, starting with our health.
Okay, this is where the book gets, frankly, quite alarming. The statistics he presents are staggering. Like, by 2017 globally, more people were overweight than underweight, for the first time ever.
Think about that shift. And then look closer to home. Say the UK obesity rates went from maybe 1% in 1950 to almost 30% now. That's a huge jump.
And in the US, it's even starker, isn't it? Something like 40% of Americans are overweight.
That's right. But here's the critical point Van Tulleken makes. It's not just about weight. That's almost a symptom. The real damage goes deeper. High UPF diets are directly linked to higher rates of cancer, metabolic diseases like type 2 diabetes, and even things like depression and anxiety. Mental illness.
Wow.
And get this statistic, he states that a diet high in UPF is linked to 22% of all global deaths.
22%.
22%. That's more deaths than attributed to tobacco, more than high blood pressure.
That is just mind-blowing. If it's deadlier than tobacco, why isn't there the same level of public health alarm? Why aren't these things plastered with warnings?
That's a central question the book tackles. He argues that the system, the economics, the marketing, it all sort of normalizes UPF, makes it feel like a personal choice issue. A willpower thing, which leads us to the addiction factor. This is huge in the book. These products aren't just tasty, they're engineered to make you keep eating them.
Right, they're designed to be addictive.
Exactly. He draws a comparison that really hits home. Think about alcohol. Over 90% of Americans drink it, but only about 14% develop an actual alcohol use disorder.
Okay.
Or even something like cocaine. Only about 20% of users become addicted. But with UPF, people report really similar addictive behaviors, intense cravings, losing control, eating more than intended, trying to cut down, and failing.
So it's hijacking our biology. essentially. It's not a moral failing. It's a biological response to these engineered substances.
Oh, precisely. It's not just about the calories, although they're often very calorie dense. It's the nature of the product. It seems to mess with our appetite hormones, like leptin, the one that tells your brain, okay, you're full now.
Yeah.
UPF seems to just override that signal.
So you eat, but you don't get that satisfaction signal. Your brain's reward pathways just keep firing, demanding more.
That seems to be the mechanism. You consume a lot of calories very quickly, but your body and brain don't register fullness in the same way they would with whole foods. It's a pathway to overconsumption.
And it's not just the internal signaling. The physical impact is stark, too. The book details this oral health crisis, particularly in kids, which is just heartbreaking.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the most visceral examples he gives. Sugar, a prime ingredient in so much UPF, is the #1 reason kids age 3 and up end up in hospital needing general anesthesia to have teeth pulled. Rotten teeth.
That's horrifying. He mentions stats like over 10% of 3-year-olds in England and a quarter of 5-year-olds already have tooth decay.
Yes, and tooth extraction is actually the most common reason for hospital admission for kids aged 6 to 10. More common than getting tonsils out or fixing broken arms.
Wow.
And it's almost entirely down to UPF, especially sugary drinks and snacks. Yet, as you said, no health warnings on these products.
So let's dig into the how. How does this stuff physically and chemically mess with us? He talks about the processing itself, right?
Yeah, the physical, chemical, thermal processing basically destroys the food's natural structure. This makes UPF generally very soft. Think about how quickly you can eat a bag of chips or a soft biscuit compared to, say, an apple or a steak.
Right, much faster.
So you eat faster, you consume more calories per minute, and you don't get the signals of fullness because there's less chewing, less fiber, less bulk. Plus, they're usually very high in calories for their weight, dry, lots of fat and sugar, very little fiber or water, and often lacking in essential vitamins and minerals.
And then there are the additives. This part was pretty concerning too. Emulsifiers, preservatives, modified starches.
Exactly. Things you definitely wouldn't find in your kitchen cupboard. He explains how some of these, like certain emulsifiers, might actually damage the lining of your gut. This could potentially lead to more inflammation, disrupt your gut bacteria, your microbiome, and maybe even contribute to what people call leaky gut.
Leaky gut, where the gut barrier isn't as strong.
Yeah, potentially allowing stuff into your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. He even draws a parallel between the kind of gut damage seen with these additives and the damage caused by smoking.
That's a really stark comparison, smoking.
It is, and it doesn't stop there. There's research mentioned on artificial sweeteners, like sucralose. Studies showing they can alter brain chemistry, mess with the gut microbiome, and even led to early death in lab animals.
Goodness. And he even touches on potential issues from the plastic packaging, right? Things like endocrine disruption affecting fertility.
Briefly, yes. Concerns about chemicals leaching from plastics. It really paints a picture of a multi-pronged assault on our bodies, from our hormones to our gut to our teeth.
It really does. And the book makes it clear this isn't just an individual health problem. It's deeply tied to society, inequality, and the planet.
Absolutely. He argues UPF actively drives inequality. It displaces traditional food cultures, which are often more nutritious and sustainable, and factors like poverty, stress, just the environment you live in. They massively influence what people eat. He gives the example of the UK, where millions lack basic kitchen appliances like fridges or freezers.
Making shelf-stable, cheap UPF seem like the only practical option for many.
Exactly. It's not always a simple choice. And then there's the marketing. Think about it. Who profits from advertising a carrot? Not really anyone. But a specific brand of breakfast cereal or a novel snack bar. Huge profits in advertising those unique engineered products.
That's a really good point. The economics favor UPF. He mentions Coca-Cola sometimes being cheaper than bottled water because the scale of production and consumption is just immense.
Right, and that scale has enormous environmental costs. The production methods often rely on monoculture crops, deforestation, palm oil is a big example he uses, plus huge carbon emissions and all the plastic waste from packaging. It's a planetary issue, too.
To really hammer these points home, the author, Chris van Tulleken, did something pretty extraordinary. He ran an experiment on himself.
Yeah, this was fascinating. He put himself on an 80% UPF diet for 4 weeks, which sounds extreme, but he notes it's actually typical for many kids and adults, especially in the US and UK. And this was all done under proper scientific supervision at University College London.
What happened?
The results were pretty dramatic, as you might expect. Significant weight gain, changes in his metabolism, hormones went haywire, even changes in his brain connectivity linked to reward and addiction. He reported feeling sluggish, anxious. But the really interesting twist, he said that after stopping the diet, it sort of switched off his own underlying cravings for UPF. It was a powerful personal validation of his research.
Wow. And that experience also led to a BBC documentary, didn't it? Irresistible, Why We Can't Stop Eating.
That's right. Seeing the impact on himself really drove the message home.
And it's worth reminding ourselves who the author is. This isn't just some journalist. Chris van Tulleken has serious credentials.
He absolutely does. He's an infectious diseases doctor, an associate professor at UCL. He has a PhD in molecular virology. Plus, his academic work specifically looks at how corporations influence health, especially children's nutrition. He works with UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and he's a BAFTA-winning broadcaster. He knows his stuff, scientifically and communicatively.
That background really lends weight to his arguments, and it seems readers agree. Let's look at what people are saying on Amazon, for instance. The book has a really high rating, right? 4.6 out of 5 stars, with over 6,000 reviews. And it's hit #1 bestseller in medical categories, food science.
Yeah, the reception has been huge. And looking through the reviews, you see consistent themes. People find it incredibly informative, well-researched, thought-provoking.
A lot of praise for how readable it is, too, despite the complex science. Words like accessible, well-written, easy to read pop up again and again. He makes it understandable.
Definitely. But what really stands out is the emotional impact. Reviewers constantly use words like terrifying, shocking, eye-opening. So many people say it fundamentally changed how they shop and eat. They call it an important book, a must-read, even life-changing.
That's powerful feedback. Were there any criticisms for balance?
Very few major ones. One person mentioned the print size was small in their copy. Okay, fair enough. Some mentioned mixed reactions about the food quality discussion. But like you said earlier, that often seems to miss the book's core point. The UPF isn't really food in the traditional sense. It's an industrial substance. So those comments almost reinforce his argument.
Right. So the reader feedback really echoes what we've been discussing. It hits hard and makes people rethink things.
Absolutely. So who should read this? I'd say it's for anyone who wants to genuinely understand what they're putting into their body. Anyone curious about the real impact of our modern food environment on health? Yes, but also on society and the planet.
It's not a diet book, though. That's key, isn't it? If you're looking for a meal plan, this isn't it.
No, definitely not. There's no 7-day UPF detox plan here. It's about providing knowledge and understanding. It's about those aha moments. The goal isn't to give you a diet, but to empower you to see the food landscape differently and make your own informed choices.
And a central message is releasing the guilt, right? He emphasizes it's often not your fault if you struggle with these foods. The blame lies more with the system, the companies, the environment that pushes them on us.
Precisely. It reframes the problem, but it still empowers the individual. The practical takeaways are about awareness. Things like always read the label. Really look at those ingredients. Ask yourself, is this actually food? Is this what I want to eat? And maybe crucially, how is this likely to make me feel afterward?
Those are powerful questions to bring to your shopping trip or meal choice.
And beyond individual choices, the book is really a call to action for bigger change, for doctors to ask different questions, for policymakers to regulate, for all of us to demand better, to demand the right to know what's in our food and the right to access affordable, actual food.
I hope you are enjoying the topic so far. Please subscribe to the Deep Seek Diaries and like this video. Don't forget you can find us on the major social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Linked in the description section are all the resources and discussion today, including books, websites, and so on. It's such a vital message. This deep dive really brings it home. The food environment we're living in, saturated with UPF, is having these devastating effects. Health, society, planet. It forces you to reevaluate everything.
It really does. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, something that really stuck with me from the book. If the most common reason for kids aged 6 to 10 to be admitted to hospital is to have rotten teeth removed, and we know UPF is the main driver of that, what does that truly tell us about the system we've created? And maybe more importantly, what role do you want to play in changing it?
A powerful question indeed. Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's deep dive into ultra-processed people. Please don't forget to check out the link resources in the description section below. The book link is there if you want to read it yourself. Hit those subscribe and like buttons as you head off if you haven't already. We appreciate your support. Until the next episode, goodbye.